Hey guys, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Finding Nemo. Our mission now? To find Nemo. And our first level, where we're actually playing as a different character, is Mask Chase. So this is where I say the game's difficulty slightly starts to pick up. That isn't really saying anything, because this is a very, very easy game. But, otherwise, we're now playing as Marlin. Which is a strange name for a clownfish, because he doesn't look like a marlin in any way. Why do they call him Marlin? A marlin is like a type of swordfish. They're freaking massive. So, why they decided to give the name to a clownfish, I have no idea.
Get that mask.
So anyway, Mask Chase. I keep getting confused, because there's a level later on called Mask Search, and I frequently get the two mixed up. So Mask Chase. This entire level, apart from the end, you are under a time limit. And this is something that I never got. So, Marlin chases after the boat by swimming into the open ocean. Like, we see the drop-off. It's down into the deep sea. So he swims after the boat a bit, and all of a sudden they're back in shallow water above a reef. Like, what is this if this isn't a reef? Is it a different reef? We have no idea how far he actually went. But, I guess it's just a different part of the reef. I don't know. Anyway, there was not much effort placed in the locations of the stone beds here, so grab the blue one. It's just up here. There we go. Grab the green one. Where am I going? Past me. Where are you going? Right, grab the green one. And it's just behind here. You'd be surprised how much I missed the red one, though, despite the fact that it's the closest one of all. That's these guys. The red one is here. And the bed is up here. How did I miss this so much as a kid? So we're introduced to quite a few new enemies this time around. I think. Well, one new... No. There's actually about 3 new enemies in this one. We already met the pufferfish back in the drop-off. But we also now have... I think there's supposed to be more eels. I was never sure what they are. I always knew they were eels. I just was never sure exactly what they were supposed to be, but I think they're supposed to be more eels. Unfortunately, this is also where you really come across the issue of enemies being obscured by the camera. Like, that happens to me a lot in this level. Especially with those guys. Not the pufferfish so much, but those little purple things that we just saw. So there's 2 kinds in this level. Well, in the game in general. There are 2 very similar kinds of enemies. So you have sea slugs, and you have sea urchins. For 2 very unrelated animals, they look very similar. Both the purple and the pink spots, both are spiky. The sea slug, well no, both of them can retract their spines as well. It doesn't really mean anything because you still get hurt even when the spines aren't out. In sea urchins' cases, they're normally there as like an obstacle. So you wait for the spikes to go back in, and then you can go over it. I don't usually get hit by the actual moray eels, though. They're usually pretty easy to avoid. So they turn their head a little bit, and then they lunge forward. It's like they're not actually attacking you. I would usually fail the time limit in this level quite a lot, because again, I always go after as many shells as I can. That includes trying to pop those trails of bubbles, but you don't have the time to do that. Otherwise, the time limit is alright. I do fail it a couple of times here. Especially when you're trying to pop all the enemies in the bubbles. That's where it gets annoying. Oop. Admittedly, a lot of these are my fault. But there are also plenty of times where it's like you're trying to go quickly. I mean, you're under a time limit. You want to go quick, and this level also frequently pushes you with a current. So it's very easy to run into things like the sea slugs and the sea urchins. I didn't even know the sea slugs had spikes. I've seen plenty of sea slugs before. I've never seen one with spikes on it. But no, apparently they do. Apparently they do in this game. They look exactly the same as sea urchins. Except that the sea slugs are actually floating, whereas sea urchins are always on the floor. I also wasn't aware that sea urchins can retract their spines. Or that they were flat on the bottom. But anyway, where do you go for realism here? I mean, that looks nothing like a moray eel. Although Finding Nemo, I think every single creature in Finding Nemo was always based off of a real animal. Right, this part's kind of annoying. I hated this level because of trying to get all of the bubble rings, because stuff like this, the level design gets really wide in some areas. This part in particular, and I was always missing a few bubble rings because the level gets so wide. There's a sea urchin. Yeah, I believe it can still hurt you when it's like that as well. So, you see those bubble rings there, but then you can very easily miss the bubble rings there because the level gets so wide. And I've missed those bubble rings so many times. And again, you're under a time limit. That was close. So it's very easy to run out of time because you're trying to explore left and right to see where all of the bubble rings are. As well as having to do other things like taking out all of the enemies. It's a good thing Finding Nemo hasn't got any lives. So one thing I will say, I think this game has a bit of a difficulty problem where it's like, yeah, that happened a few times, like the screen with flash. That was happening quite a lot when I was playing. And it's like the difficulty is kind of all over the place. Like this level is quite a step up, but then the next few levels are actually very simple. So we have 3 pretty easy levels, makes sense at the beginning of the game. You get this one, which is more difficult. Then I see it goes down a bit for the next 2 levels, and then we suddenly go up again on the one afterwards. So it's like the game's difficulty is all over the place. I mean, in general though, it's a very simple game. It's like getting all of the starfish can be a bit challenging, especially some of the bonus missions. Some of them can get quite frustrating. Even then, the problems with the bonus levels aren't always necessarily because they're hard, it's just that some of them can go on forever, and that includes the one we're going to be seeing at the end of this level. And that's where you can easily run into something that you can't see on the screen. So just go down slowly. We will be seeing the moray eels in one more level much later into the game, but we're finally out of there. It's a good thing this game ignores water pressure. But also, see, Rana Reef again. We're clearly back in shallow water, despite the fact that I was going downwards. I get we were probably in like a cave of corals. Right. Several problems here. I have no idea what the point of this level is. I get this is supposed to be the part where Marlin is going through the reef. Like, has anybody seen a boat? But firstly, you can never really tell where the fish are compared to you. Like, it might look like they're right next to you, they're actually behind you. It might look like they're behind you, but you can actually swim right into them. It's hard to tell. The other problem with this part of the level, there are only 4 voice clips, and this part goes on for a while. So you will just be hearing the same 4 voice clips over and over again. Anyway, we clearly see in the film that Marlin is capable of hitting a fish and be fine. Like, he flat smacks right into one. Like that. I did not see, I could not see, it looked like that one was behind me, but it wasn't. We can give you a few more voice clips. Heck, I'll say no voice clips at all if we're just listening to the same 4 bits over and over again. Get out of the way. This part is not very interesting at all. There we go. At least Marlin doesn't grow an extra fin. Yeah, get out of the way, Mask Chase. Keeps messing with me. This is what it was based on. It keeps messing with me how you have Mask Chase and Mask Search. Both very different levels. Yeah, this is where the game's levels do start to get a bit on the lengthy side. Thankfully, they get a bit shorter for a little bit now. Oh, but just you wait. Just wait. But first, We have to do mask chases bonus mission. One of only 2 of this kind of mission. And the other one is actually not that much later into the game. And then we never see it again. Matching the images. I mean, I've got nothing really else to say other than you just keep trying and then eventually you'll get it. I don't think anything is in like a set location or anything. I think it is random every single time you come into the mission. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know why we're playing as Dori, considering that we haven't even met her yet. I mean, I think that film clip does end at the part where Marlin crashes into Dori, but even so. But yeah, there's no strategy to this. You're just going... You just keep trying until eventually you get it right. That's all I can say. This did take me a little bit longer than normal, and it is quite annoying when you're trying to do it quickly for a Let's Play, for the sake of getting it over with. So, much like Mind of a Mutant before it, let's speed things up a bit, shall we? But of course, something like this though, the good thing about it is that as you get more and more, it just becomes easier. You don't have as many things to match up. One problem that can be is that you kind of lose track of which one you've just... like you find one, then you fail, then you find the other one, and then you're like, oh, where was the other one again? Like, you just keep forgetting. It's very easy to lose track when there's still so many of these purple squares. The weird thing is, the second one of these I actually find is easier than this one. You can have a slight advantage. If you're at the right angle, you can see what picture is on the other side of the panel. But it's very hard. It is doable, and it has helped me in the past, but it's very hard to tell. Why is Anchor on the pictures? But we never see Anchor in this game. Like, we see Bruce. We'll see him later in this part. But we only ever see Anchor and Chum using the film clips. Chum is never mentioned, there's no images of him or anything, but we do get Anchor in these matching games. So, I don't know. Yeah, these can go on for a while. Most of these minigames can go on for a while. Yeah, the puzzles can take a while. I just keep doing them and eventually I get there. The bouncing the ball through the hoop, that can go on for an eternity later on in the game. We've only seen one so far. It's the final mission that we're doing here is another one of those, and it takes so much longer, and it's still far from the worst one. They are the longest games in this set. Like, they are the longest mini games in this game. Alright, we're nearly there. One more. We found Nemo. Appropriately our last one. And Dori turns into a seal. Or sea lion, whatever. But yeah, some of these missions can go on for a long time, and others can take a few seconds. So I can't remember the entire list, or can I? So there's bouncing a ball through the hoop. There's bouncing on thingies, like we had the sponge beds. There's races. There's puzzles. There's matching games, as we saw right there. I don't know why that was so hard. The final level is a special one. It's the only one of its kind to be in a mini game, but we have done it plenty of times already in the main stages. And then there's only one more. I honestly don't remember. But there is also probably my least favourite. It's these Simon Says minigames. Now, they don't start showing up until later on in the game, but there's quite a few of them when we do get there. And they can take a while. Anyway, catch Dori. A level that is very, very simple. So, back in Field Trip, we had to go through these speed rings in order to keep up with Mr. A. He did slow down when we slowed down. All it was is we just had to make it look like we were keeping up with him by going through the speed rings, and if we miss one, he'd go a set distance away from us. Catch Dori is different. Dori is constantly moving forward. If you let go of the X button, she's going to keep getting further and further away.
Stop following me, okay?
What are you talking about? You're showing me which way the boat went.
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat. It went this way. It went this way. Follow me.
Yeah, the problem with levels like this though is that because we're just trying to catch up to her, you've sort of got to delay it a bit. You have to miss some of these speed rings and let her get ahead of you. Otherwise, you are not going to get all of the bubble rings. Like I mean, you can do this level extremely quickly if you do it that way, but if you want to get all the bubble rings, then you are going to have to miss a few speed rings or slow yourself down, or go through some of the gaps where all the shells are, which can make you go past some bubble rings. I have the hardest time going through that one up there. It's also where you start to notice a bit of an issue with the perspective here, because there are times where, when you're going around bends, it's very easy to miss the speed ring like that, because you can't really tell whereabouts you are in position to it. Other than that, this is just about as simple as the levels get in this game. All you're doing is just chasing after her. Of course, this is Dori. She's got short-term memory loss. She doesn't remember what she's doing. Come on. We're up there, damn it!
You got a problem, buddy? Huh? Huh? Do ya? Do ya?
Wait a minute.
I'm trying to swim here. What, the ocean isn't big enough for you or something like that?
Stop it! You're showing me which way the boat went.
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat. It went, this way. It went this way. Follow me!
Now, Marlin's voice actor doesn't... Oh, I missed it. Marlin's voice actor does sound fairly like Albert Brooks. I think he does a pretty good job. Whoever's voicing Dory does not sound like Ellen DeGeneres. Oh, sorry, I think we just call her Ellen now, don't we? We don't call her... We ignore the DeGeneres part, we just call her Ellen. Right, that bit is going to slow you down. You can't just keep darting your way, because the dart, while it is fast, you stop for a few seconds before you do it, so in the end it doesn't really make any difference. In fact, she might get a bit further ahead. It's harder to turn when you're darting as well. Luckily, because you go in... Oh, thank you. Luckily, because we're going in laps, you can get any bubble rings you missed. The only time you can do something like that. Otherwise, that's the big problem with the 3D sections. It's very easy to miss stuff. Now all we have to worry about is catching up to her. Which I'm not going to do if I keep missing these freaking speed rings. Also, in general, I don't think the voice acting in this game is always that good. Like, when we get to Bruce's voice actor, like, he is really trying to put on an Australian accent, and he's not doing a very convincing job of one. Like, it sounds like he's trying too hard. Yeah, that's really all you're doing. There's only one starfish to get in the level. It's just the bubble rings. There's nothing else. It's about as simple as you can get. So remember the Tad puzzle that we did at the end of the last part? Now we have another one. The thing is, this one has a lot more pieces to it. And yet, somehow, I did this one faster. So this one used to take me forever to do. Even the Tad one used to take me forever to do. These were always the puzzles that I used to ignore, because it's like, I had no idea how I was supposed to do all of this. And it's like, eventually when I did want to go after all of the starfish, I would go and do these ones. Sometimes I'd ignore them and come back later, but then they started adding them into the actual levels. And as we'll be seeing in the next part, that got really annoying. Because they're so easy to mess up, and all you've got to do is mess up once. And then your progression is now going to take a lot longer. Because that's exactly what happened in one of the levels. It's a level that I normally have quite a simple time doing the puzzle. Because you have a puzzle in 2 levels in a row, and usually the first one is the hard one. But this time it ended up being the second one, which I don't normally have that much of an issue with. But yeah, the puzzles do later on become a frequent appearance in the actual levels themselves. I think you encounter one at least 4 times in an actual stage, let alone the bonus minigames. Because I think there's 3 of these, we got 1 more later on. I think it's Master Search actually, when we get to Master Search. See, the Master Search is the level after it, but one of them is another puzzle like this, and in that one, it's the same size as this one, but all the pieces look a lot more similar. So it's, again, kind of difficult to tell what one is supposed to go where. What I frequently find when doing this puzzle though is I can get one of the fish done. I can either get Dory done, but then Marlin is incomplete, or I get Marlin complete and then Dory is incomplete. Do you like that? Problem solved with Marlin. This is me taking out my frustration, but all I can do is just move sideways. So Marlin is sorted out now, but Dory isn't. And unfortunately, in order to finish Dory, we've got to mess up Marlin again. That was actually something I found quite strange when... There we go. When that was actually something I found quite strange when watching Finding Dory for the first time. Which is still the only time. I didn't care for the film that much, but... It was kind of weird because I never really noticed at first. Dory never calls Marlin by name in Finding Nemo. Like, she never calls him by his name. So it was actually quite strange hearing her say his name in Finding Dory. It was weird. Got used to it. It was just kind of weird hearing it at first because it just made me notice. You know, she never calls him Marlin in Finding Nemo. Anyway, minefield. Got bubble rings, and we've got the bouncy things, and we've got a shark. Now this is something I always found weird. If you listen to those voice clips, Bruce sounds quite different to how he does in the actual film. Like, his voice is a lot deeper. I don't know if it's a different voice actor, if they maybe redid the lines, I'm not sure, but he sounds much deeper. But he also sounds incredibly different when we actually listen to him here. So, more speed rings, but this one is much more like Field Trip rather than Catch Dory. So Bruce will slow down when you slow down, and then when you miss a speed ring, he'll go further ahead of you, like that. Very clearly doing that. Minefield has actually got quite a lot of its own exclusive hazards that we'll never see again. We'll never see these octopus tentacles. We'll never see the ink clouds, which don't usually have octopus in them, which is odd. On the plus side, both have their own unique death animations, which is interesting. I say death animations. The octopus grabs Dory, but she does get away. But I guess Bruce is too far away by that point. They do like to place some of these rings in very annoying places in time with your movement. So there'll be a gas cloud right there, there'll be an octopus tentacle right there, and I swear sometimes it's impossible to get these rings. You could try slowing down, letting go of the button, but the octopus tentacles move very slowly. And even if you let go of the button, it may be called the move button, it doesn't stop you, you're still moving forwards. It just slows you down. These parts, on the other hand, are the worst bits of the level. Because you're almost constantly fighting the current, and if you hit the mines, you're dead. Because it's a mine. We've seen the film, but you also encounter another issue, which you can see right just then. I swear, I go through a number of these rings, and then nothing happens, and as such, Bruce gets too far ahead of me. Like that one, okay, I can see what happened there. Like, I clearly missed that ring. But later on, I clearly go through the ring. Like that, I missed. That I went through. That I missed. That I went through. That I missed. And that one I missed because the current disappeared. And then he gets angry. What happened to Marlin? Like, it's very easy to miss. Anyway, so I got to the end of the minefield, so we're cutting there. Like, I was right, I've had to come out of the minefield too. Luckily this isn't all we're doing.
Careful, my little tidbits. You don't want to be popping any of them balloons. It'd be bad for your health, mate, and mine.
Whee! Looks like fun. Let's bounce on them all.
I'm not sure, Dory.
No, she'll be all right. But any more than 3 times on each balloon and we're all gonna regret it.
Except for the first one. You can bounce on that as many times as you want. Right, our second bouncing thing, and a problematic one because you can only bounce on a mine 3 times. Hit it a 4th time, it blows up. And there are plenty of dead ends, but if you want to jump on all 81 of them, you've got to bounce back on some of them that you've already bounced on once. Sometimes you have to bounce on them the maximum 3 times, so if you do it wrong, that's it. just kill yourself. I had to do that a couple of times here. Like right now, I'm going the wrong way. But you're not really going to know that ahead of time unless you already know what you're doing. See, I accidentally bounced on that on those two too many times. That was it. Why bother to keep going? I could just, because I'm not going to make it, just restart there. Nothing stays popped. If you die, you have to do it again, as we saw in that bonus mission in Field Trip. So you want to go up here this time, and that's where I messed up again. So let's try that again. Well, as I tried again, we cut to after I did it. But anywho, and now it's very straightforward. Luckily it does stop you so that you can get the starfish. And now everything proceeds as normal again. Minefield is not a very exciting level. It gets a bit tense when you're actually swimming through the minefield because you're fighting the current and trying to go through the speed rings. But other than that, this level is not very interesting at all. It gets a little bit hectic at the end where it's just hazard after hazard after hazard. Other than that, this level's just boring. Okay, I managed to do this one in one go. So like, this is fine. The current's there to give you some added challenge. That's fine. But everything else, you're just swimming through rings, which is already something I'm doing throughout the majority of the game anyway. I clearly went through that one, and that one. I clearly went through both of them. That one I get. That one I get. Okay, the cutscene kicks in here, so, well, not really a cutscene, but your checkpoint's there. Yeah, the bubble rings aren't exactly hard to miss. They only ever come in singles. You can only get so many shells here because they all come in rings as well. I hate that speed rings placement so much. That speed ring is impossible. The bubble ring, yes, but the speed ring is impossible. I'm not a fan of that one's placement either. Thanks to all these gas clouds, this is where things get a little bit hectic. So I think you have to be right in the center of the gas cloud for it to actually affect you. So this part right here, these gas clouds. I'm pretty sure I should have died then, but I've run into these things so many times. So if you've got the if you can make the distance, just ignore the speed rings. Then go just swim through the ones that you can get. Hey look, balloons! It is a party! Alright, and that is the end of Minefield. Unfortunately, the minigame is not much more exciting. You get a lot of shells though, not that that means anything. Okay, Minefield's minigames, which is where you really start to hate the ball and the bubbles. So as you can probably guess by the chains and the level that we've just done, what does this mission have a lot of? Mines. And I'm not a fan of this one for a multitude of reasons. Number one, all of the rings are located right next to mines. So you gotta be really careful on where that ball goes. You can't hit the mine, like I very nearly did there. The ball cannot hit a mine. I'm surprised that that happened right there. The collision detection on the mines is a bit weird, the little spiky bits. Not spiky bits, but the protrusions, I don't know what you call them. And it's very easy to lose track of where you've been, where you haven't been. Some of the mines are all at different heights. You can use the chains to give you some kind of sense of where you've been and where you haven't been. I don't find it to be that helpful. The other problem is that the background is orange, and that makes it very hard to see Marlin at times. Even the ball kind of hides a little bit. It's like it's a dark orange. Marlin blends into it quite well. Ugh. And the ball does bounce you a bit as well. And there are also 2 levels that actually have this in the gameplay. One of them is optional. It's just for a star, but there is a level where doing this is actually mandatory. Luckily, unlike, say, the missions where you have to bounce on the objects, if a mine explodes like that, you actually do keep all of your progress. So every hoop that the ball has gone through is still counted. You're not forced to start again. But yeah, I hate these ones. They go on, later ones can go on for such a long time. I think there's 4 of these in total in terms of the bonus games. The first one's fine because you can do it in about 20 seconds. This one's got all the problems with the mines and the fact that you can't really see yourself. The 4th one has you fighting this current, which makes getting through the last few hoops an incredible pain in the neck. And the 3rd one just goes on and on and on, like it never ends. How did that not hit the mine? This is a very strange version of Minesweeper. I think this is, there's definitely a point. Yeah, I just decided, you know what, let's just see if I missed anything on this side. The ball is either going to go down to the current in the middle and then go back up, or it's going to hit a mine, and that's what happened. But I can now see that there's nothing on that side, so we just work on our progress here instead. Try not to pounce it into the mine. Not some of these things that get there because the mines do appear in the next level. Very rare, but they are there. Typically you can find the ball on both sides of the mine unless it's one that's right next to a wall or another mine. It's a miss. Oh, where's the last one? Swimming right past it. There you are. And there we go. Alright, well luckily that's the last time we have to see that for a while. And that's the end of Minefield. Unfortunately, it is now time for one of my least favourite levels in the game. But that's for next time, so I will see you guys